All right. I think we're live. It's looking good. Now we're going to see if it connects into YouTube and the rest of the world. I think I see it. Let me click on my end. Beautiful. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'll give everybody a few seconds to jump on. Today, I have a quick talk for you. I've been contemplating this for a little bit. Usually when I'm thinking of some topics to talk about, I have to reflect. So I take some time, I write it out. I've got these journals. I usually write everything out into journals. And I write it out, and then I let it sink in. Then I might share it with a few people. Be like, hey, can you help me out organizing this? And that's how this came out about today. And I want to talk to you about two things. One is, and you might not have heard this word. Let me grab it for you because I'm going to read this one off to you. Automaticity and being thankful. The being thankful one, of course, we know. But what the heck is automaticity, you might be thinking about? And I'm going to read the definition for you just right out of the dictionary. Automaticity, the quality or fact of being performed involuntarily or unconsciously as a reflex, innate process, or ingrained habit. Now, that's important because this is a core function of who we are on a daily basis. And the one thing I want you to remember is innate process and secondary ingrained habit. That's important because now you start thinking, well, automaticity, are you talking about me reacting just to everything that's happening around me? Is this kind of like how I function as a whole on a daily basis? And yeah, kind of it is. And if you've ever read the book, or at least taken a look at the book, maybe glimpsed at it, summarized it, Ray Dalio's book, Principles, that's what I'm talking about. Those principles that outline how you truly function as a person. Those are your values. That's your core. But here's the challenge. We don't take the time to reflect and think, what's at our core? What's our operating system? Am I reacting to this? Or am I actually voluntarily deciding to act a certain way and being more aware of it? So here's the question. What would happen if you outlined how you operate? Like you actually take time to think about how you function on a daily basis. Like why did I react that way? Why did I feel that? What does that say about me? Could that make you more purposeful? Look, I'm not going to have you think about that really long. I'm going to answer it for you. The answer is yes, right? The answer is totally 100% yes. You will start being more purposeful. As automaticity, it's just saying, look, we've all got this innate challenge because our brain naturally wants to create the shortest path to our actions. That's what our brain is designed to do, to conserve energy, right? It consumes most of the energy of our body, and it also wants to conserve it and saying, hey, let me find the quickest route to this. And so it's natural for it to want to automate things. But this is where we take the control back and say, great, you're going to automate it, but let me tell you how I function. Because I'm not going to let my environment anymore dictate how I live my life. I'm going to be more responsive. And so this is where, after reading the book, Principles by Ray Dalio, it got me thinking, and I'm like, maybe I should outline exactly how I function in the form of leadership, because I've got 3 different multi-million-dollar companies that I run. And I had to think, well, there are leadership principles that I need to put into place here. And do they all function in the same manner? How am I affecting the people that I help? And so I'm going to share with you a document right here. Garrett, thanks, buddy. I see the links. And Garrett, I'm going to share something right now on here. Let me know if you can see it on your end, Garrett, so that I can pop it up. There it is. Beautiful. These are the principles that I took time to reflect on and reverse engineer. And first, I want to say hi to Anna from London. What's up, Anna? Kansas City, Dan. I know you, Dan. What's up, Mel? Lady Constance. Nice name. Nice to see you on here. So here's what I did. And as I started going deeper into this, I started reading a book called, hold on, let me get it for you. It's right next to me because I'm not done with it. It's called Working Backwards. I'm going to unshare my screen so you can see this. It's called Working Backwards by Colin Breyer and Bill Carr. And as I'm reading this, I'm looking at it and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Jeff Bezos had 8 core principles that he started with to lead Amazon. This is before it blew up. And these principles were the core culture of the company. This is really cool. And as he started growing, he hired a whole team to discover what those leadership principles were of the company. So he started reverse engineering and said, okay, well, look, I know I've grown now. How do we lead? And then they came up with 14 principles, right? They started with 8 and they grew to 14. And these 14, what happens is they're already functioning this way. They just took time to dissect it and say, hey, these are your strengths. And you should double and triple down on them because you're so great at them. This is the core culture. And what happens is as we become aware of our principles, of the way we operate, we actually lean more towards into them and are more purposeful in our effects. So this is why I want to reshare the screen with you. And I want to help you. I want to show you, because when you start seeing this, you start thinking backwards and you're like, hey, how do I operate? How is it that I think? And Garrett, I've got it back up again. Let me know if you can see it. Thank you. Let's start with what I did here. I'm going to help you because you need to do this in your live. All right. Carrie, thank you so much. I love that. Good vibes. Right back at you. All right. So innovation is where I started because when I created the largest online community for real estate agents in the world, I was seen as innovative because I kept on bringing the latest technology, the latest processes, the latest systems. I interviewed the best out there, and people started gravitating to it because, wow, you know what? You're really innovative in the way that you're doing things. So I reflected back on that and saying, well, interesting. I do function the same way as a real estate team, right? As a leadership consultant. When I consult companies like Facebook, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm always innovative. But what does that mean? So I had to dissect it and say, well, innovation can mean so many different things. It doesn't necessarily mean creating a brand new sector or creating technology. It can simply mean doing something that has been done in the same way, now doing it differently. Creating a different process that's now smoother, that more people can understand, right? And so I had to dissect innovation. And so what I started with was innovation. And as I outline these, this is one thing. What's up, Russell? One thing that I want you to do, if you can, once you outline your way of operating, I want you to create an acronym because you'll remember it. For me, it's iSpark. I had to rearrange them. But iSpark, I was like, oh, I know how we operate. Now I throw it out to the whole team, all 3 teams and all 3 businesses that I have. And I'm like, oh, this is how we operate. And they can tell you straight down, this is exactly how we operate. But we lead with the very bottom one, which is kindness. We lead with kindness, always. But let me take you through them. And so you can have the same discovery this I did in your business, in your life. When I started doing this, I started with a leadership idea. I'm like, okay, these are my leadership principles. As I started reading this other book, working backwards, I'm like, wait a second. This is kind of how I lead my life too. I wonder if I can do this for my family. How is it that I lead my family with my wife, right? Because now it's co-leadership. How do we lead? What are those principles that are important to us? What do we want our children and ourselves to gravitate to? And now we start thinking differently. We let those principles that we aspire to be better at to lead us. This is the purpose of this, right? This is why it's so important. Now let's go into systems. For me, I thought, well, look, as I grow, I need systems, and I love systems. I love putting processes in place to be able to grow, to be able to scale, right? And so that's why I had systems. People first. One thing that I always gravitated to is just connecting with people, creating these relationships, making them feel like they're important to me. And then one quote that I have there by Sam Walton from Walmart says, if you want a successful business, it says, your people must feel that you're working for them, not that they're working for you. And that's a core of something that I really believe in. And so for me, people, right? Next is awareness, something that unfortunately is just a struggle right now in the world that we live in, realizing that, the way that I feel, the way that I act, the way that I talk affects those people around us. And my opinion, the words that I use are only opinions, and other people are entitled to theirs. It doesn't mean that I have to hate them, not like them, or not associate with them. It means that because I'm aware that other people have other opinions, I'm able to work with them and know that those differences will only make me stronger. And that by associating with people that see the world differently than me, not only on my team, but as friends, it will help me see the world differently too. Awareness, massive strength, right? What's up, Darwin? And resilience. Oh, this one hit me at the core because I look back and how many times did I fail? How many times did I start something which I thought was amazing, and then something hit us, knocked us down, and we thought, wow, is this really worth it? And because it was with my passion, it's like I always gravitate to doing things that are passionate for me. I always had resilience. And I'm like, you know what? We lead with resilience. No matter what happens, we're going to keep on going. We may approach things differently. We're like, oh, you know what? That didn't work in the way that we did it. Let's redo it because we're still very passionate about it. We may not have approached it the right way. Let's try a different route. And then kindness. Again, one aspect of humanity that I think sometimes isn't highlighted enough by the media, as we typically do gravitate to on social media to things that are really the opposite of kindness, right? And so in my organizations, the way that we lead is through kindness. We lead through understanding that I give the people the benefit of the doubt when there is a mistake made, and understand that mistakes will only make us stronger if they're treated in the right way. One of the books I read earlier this year, I don't remember the name, but it was about Nelson Mandela. What's up, Rao? How you doing, buddy? And Ajit, missed you, buddy. Is a book by Nelson Mandela. One of his core qualities was he said that the way that I look at other human beings is that I don't look at them at being wrong or right. Thanks, Garrett. Good call, man. I thought it was off. I thought it was off already. Is that I don't look at people as being wrong or right. I look at them as always trying to make a difference in how they think they can make a difference. And I always give them the benefit of the doubt that they want to help. And if I treat people that way, if I treat people like they actually want to make a difference, it makes a difference because people want to be given a chance to prove themselves. And I thought that's a really good way. I love that. Which goes along with what Tony Robbins also says. And if you follow Tony, he's always telling you, look, it's at the end of the day, you can't blame people for wanting to do what's best for them. I mean, don't you? I want to do what's best for me. You want to do what's best for yourself. I'm not going to blame you for it, but let's reroute that energy and see how we can make it work for both of us. So it's all on how you take a look at things. It's these principles that you have to be aware of. This was what allows us to live a more purposeful life. All this time, we all have this, right? We all have this. We just have to reverse engineer it. Sharon, yes. This is it. Like, you all lead a life, but how do you lead it? Do you take the time to reverse engineer it? Do you lead with kindness? What stands out for you? What is that? This is where you reverse engineer, write it out, type it out. I love to write, so I write things out and then I type it out, right? But that's how you do it. And then the second part to this is thankfulness. I got to interview TD Jakes through Success Magazine on the podcast Brilliant Thoughts. Check it out, by the way. It's on Spotify, iTunes. And TD Jakes said, look, the way that you lead with anything is through humility, right? And I thought that's true. I guess I knew that, TD, but I didn't really think about it that way. And sometimes getting to humility is the hardest part because it's like go, 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 go. And then it goes back to what I said about Tony Robbins. It's like, yeah, we're always looking out for our best interest and how can things benefit us, right? But when we approach it with humility, it slightly changes. And so to get into that state, because it's hard for me sometimes, I'm able to really approach this differently. And to get into that state, I'm going to share with you something that I created. It's called practicing thankfulness. It's these 5 steps, 4 questions, 1 action. What's up, Joseph Beer? How you doing, buddy? And cannot blame people for what works for them. Yes, thank you. And that's super nice. And Garrett, look at that, buddy. Thank you for that. I didn't even know it popped up on your screen. Yes, practicing thankfulness. So again, this I created in writing, right? And then my awesome crew then put it into this great PDF for me. And what I do is I do my best to do this in the evening. And you can read through this in the day, you put it in the evening, but it's part of my personal evening routine. And I'd say I hit this about 4 nights out of the 7. All right. And this is the purpose of it. I go through and I say, okay, well, let's get into the right state. Because let me tell you one thing before I read this to you. The way you look at life, the way you look at anything throughout the day is the way you're feeling. And I don't think that we realize that. I got to interview Jim Quick, and the podcast is coming in about 2 weeks. Jim Quick, look at the book Limitless. But I got to interview him and he said, look, man, we're all chemical beings. We're releasing all these chemicals daily. And sometimes we respond to those chemicals, whether it's dopamine, oxytocin, all of these things. And sometimes we don't even know what's being released, and that's how we're feeling. So here's where I'm challenging you. Take control over this. Number 1, was there an instance throughout the day that made you smile or you were happy? And like sometimes I sit with my family and read these, and we all answer this together. And I'm like, okay, Anson's my littlest. I'm like, Anson, let's go. Was there an instance throughout the day that made you smile or where you were happy? And yesterday it was like, yeah. When one of our dogs came up and started wanting to play with him, just brought up something, one of the little tennis balls that we have, and just brought it up to him. I'm like, oh, that made you happy? That's so cool. The smallest things can make us happy. Number 2, was there someone that made your life easier today or made you laugh? Now I'm being more purposeful and I'm asking you, think about the people in your life that make a difference. Right? There's a purpose in the order, and there's a purpose in the questions that I ask myself. I didn't just come up with these 4 questions in 1 action, just out of nowhere. It took time to create these and tested them out. Number 3, is there anything that you're proud of today? Something that you've accomplished. Again, positive reinforcement. But here, I want you to take time to look inward, because sometimes in the middle of the day, we have these negative thoughts that come our way. And we're like, oh, Tristan, that was stupid. Tristan, why do you consistently do that? Oh, you're never going to get better at this. I'm taking the moment here and say, hey, negative mind, shut up. Let's focus on, is there anything that you're proud of today? Something that you've accomplished. Now you're retargeting your reticular activating system to focus on something that's positive and good that you made possible. Number 4, is there someone you've been wanting to thank that you haven't reached out to? And for some reason, I always gravitate to my mom and my dad on this one, and my wife. And I mean, sometimes it just circles through those, right? So sometimes I thank my mom like twice in a week, or my dad. Sometimes I thank my mom and my wife on the same day. But this gets me thinking outside of myself again. And it makes me grateful for those people that are closest to me, or somebody that made an impact on my life this week, this day, yesterday, something. And then it gets me thinking into that whole state that I want to be in. I want to be in a state where I'm grateful continually, grateful for those people around me, grateful for the opportunities I have, grateful to be where I'm at. Because the more I look at life this way, the more I will look at the things that are happening to me as opportunities, either opportunities for growth, right? Or something to learn from. And number five is super simple. Number five is not a question, it's an action. And this is where I want you to be more conscious, more aware. You close your eyes, you take a deep breath. Sometimes we don't even take a deep breath the whole day. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Think about your ability to process information and be thankful for your mind with its capacity to refine thoughts that can create an amazing future for you. This one's putting the power right back to you, helping you realize, hey, look, at the end of the day, stop being a victim. It's up to you. You want to make a change in your life? Do it regardless of the environment you're in. I know some people that had the worst, terrible environments growing up because we have no choice in where we are born, family, location, and yet they thrive. Think about that. Think of where you're at right now, the opportunity that you have. It's up to you. It's all on how you look at life on a daily basis. That's it. And so today, automaticity, really thinking about the operating system, be more aware of it, and then being thankful, starting with humility, but getting into that state so you can make a difference in your life and those around you. That's all I've got for you today. Carrie, thank you. RR, I've only got your initials, buddy, but thank you. And Sherry, thanks for tagging somebody. I appreciate you all for being on. Any questions, any comments, put them in here. Dan Goodwin, Long Walk to Freedom. That may be a book, I think. I'm not sure. But if you have any questions, type them in here. I'm seeing most of them on here, some of them. And if we don't get to them, I'll go to YouTube and Facebook and type up the answers as I get them. All right, Garrett, I think that's it, man. I don't see anything else. Jennifer Herm, I think I want to share this. Where can we find, I got one. Where can we find this information? Look, if you go to the app that we have for Success Magazine, it's achievers.success. We'll be posting up both things, the iSpark leadership principles that I have, and also the thankful sheet. We'll put them up in there as well. And do me a favor, if you haven't already checked out the podcast that I run for Success Magazine, it's called Brilliant Thoughts. And people that I interview are absolutely out of this world. One of those, like I said, was Jim Quick, TD Jakes, Jack Canfield from Chicken Soup for the Soul. So check it out, please. And Paige, yes, thank you for putting that up there. I appreciate you all being on. Let's have an awesome day. And don't forget to ask yourself every morning, every evening, how do I want to feel today? Simple question. Begin your day with it, end your day with it. That's how I start my day. That's what I ask my kids. Hey, Anson, Aaliyah, how do you want to feel today? Because none of us are going to want to say, well, I want to feel crappy. I want to feel crappy today, Daddy. I want to feel terrible. I don't think so. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome day. Thanks.